Hi, my name is Matt Norman. This tutorial video is to provide a review of parallel structure and faulty parallelism, which comes from Chapter 18, pages 179 to 182 of the Vincennes University Writer's Handbook. This is for English 101 or other English composition classes. What is parallel structure? Well, according to the VU Writer's Handbook, parallelism highlights the correspondence between items in a series, paired items, and elements in lists and outlines. So parallel structure is the way that different parts of those lists or items in a list sound the same or start off the same with either the same type of word, like a noun or a verb or something like that, or have the same type of phrasing so that it has this kind of inherent repetition. For example, items in a series would just have to start off the same way. A simple example of that would be the very famous quote, I came, I saw, I conquered. Each part in that series starts with I and then continues with a verb. With paired items, that would just be that the two things are together and they're just started the same way. For example, a thank you note was short but sweet. Short and sweet are phrased the same way. In lists and outlines, an example might be that, a portfolio project has to include the following items: an essay of the student's choosing, a reflection of that essay, a reflection of their growth over the semester, and so on. By starting each item in that list with a or an, with the article, it repeats the structure over and over again. What sometimes happens, though, is called faulty parallelism. Faulty parallelism occurs when items or elements in a sentence that express equivalent ideas are not presented in parallel terms. There's an example here. This also comes from the VU Writer's Handbook, page 181, as the citation on the screen says, where it says, many residents of developing countries lack adequate housing, adequate food, and their healthcare facilities are also inadequate. That last phrase is not parallel because the adequate it's mentioned in the idea, but it's not phrased the same way. A way to double check this is if you were to rearrange the items in that series, would they be grammatically correct? And in this case, it would not be. Many residents of developing countries lack their healthcare facilities are also inadequate, adequate housing, and adequate food. That obviously does not make grammatical sense, but sometimes when you have different items in a list, by the time you get to the last item or a middle item, it's easy to forget how the beginning of the sentence started. So by switching them around, it helps to double check that. Errors. Here are two errors that the chapter provides. Exercise 18.2 on page 182. In the first example, it says a national task force on education recommended improving public education by making the school day longer, higher teacher salaries, and integrating more technology into the curriculum. Another example says that the fast food industry has expanded to include many types of restaurants, those that serve pizza, fried chicken chains, some offering Mexican-style menus, and hamburger franchises. Both of those examples are items have items in a list, but one of the items or multiple items are just phrased in different ways or start off in different ways. The color coding shows this different structure for some of the items, right? In the first example, by making the school day longer, making is the verb phrase that starts off the item. And then in the last item, integrating more technology into the curriculum. That's okay, but there's no verb word, there's no ing verb for higher teacher salaries. That needs to be changed so that it matches the other two. The fast food industry has expanded to include many kinds of restaurants, and then some of them are phrased just in terms of like what type they are. Some are talking about it more in terms of their function or how they provide the service, right? So some of them just say fried chicken chains, hamburger franchises, those are parallel, but then there are others that are kind of a more generic description of action, right? Those that serve pizza, some offering Mexican-style menus. That also needs to be changed so that it's equivalent. And so here is how it could be corrected. By adding in a new verb, increasing, for item number 1, in the second item there, increasing teacher salaries, now we've got 3 ing verbs, right? Making, increasing, and integrating. And then it talks about what those things, the phrases following that, what they're making, what they're increasing, what they're integrating, right? And those can be switched around. And then for the second item, there are a couple different ways to fix it, but I paid attention to the word right before the colon, the restaurants. Everything that follows that should be a description of the type of restaurant. So I decided to add in some new words to describe the type of pizza restaurant and the type of Mexican place, and just cut it all down. So it's pizza places, fried chicken chains, Mexican style restaurants, and hamburger franchises. Right? Very simple structure of the description and then the type of place that it is, or the place that it is. Finally, for an original exercise and solution, here is a sample. This would be a very commonly seen thesis statement where a student is persuading someone about recycling programs. It says recycling programs should be federally mandated because it would reduce waste, improve the economy, and animals would be safer. Claim 3 good reasons, but one of them is not parallel. Right? The last one should have that verb to start it off, right? We've got reduce, we've got improve, and then animals would be safer. We need to move the verb so that it starts off that item as well. Recycling programs should be federally mandated because it would reduce waste, improve the economy, and protect animals. We've got a much more parallel structure with that. And then finally, here's my works cited. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I hope that it was helpful.